Hey everyone, thanks for joining me for episode 3 of Sketchbook Sunday. Today is September 11th and I am doing a sketch in my sketchbook of the Twin Towers, the New York Skyline, when the Twin Towers were there. I'm also going to be sharing with you a bit of my experience from that day. I actually grew up in New York City, but if you guys don't want to hear about that, you can just, skip to the end. On September 11th, 2001, I was in the 5th grade and I was at school. It was a normal day, just like any other day. I just remember that our teacher got a phone call and she just kind of went quiet and didn't say much to the class, but I could tell she had to leave the room and I don't know if she was crying or what was going on, but she came back and she had a look on her face that was just not a look I've seen on her face before, let's just say that. But the lesson went on, we just went on with our day, and I think 20 minutes later, everybody got called into the auditorium. So I think it was the 4th and 5th graders. We were all called into the auditorium, and the vice principal announced to us what had happened. She said that the Twin Towers were hit by 2 planes and that this was a terrorist attack. Shortly after that, I don't think everybody fully registered what was going on. I know that there were a few kids who were crying because they had family members who worked there, and a lot of kids started going home. I remember we went back to the classroom, and I left out an important detail. This was in Brooklyn, by the way, and from Brooklyn you can actually see the Twin Towers. There was a side of our building in the school where you can see the towers themselves and you can see everything that was going on. I remember that our notebooks and desks were starting to get a little dusty, but I think it was the ash. I remember there were little burnt pieces of paper that flew into our windows. There was actually a large black chunk of something. It was very light, but it was just this obviously burned piece of, very light debris that fell in. And my teacher walked up to the window and she picked it up. I remember we went to lunch and a lot of kids were going home, and at lunch this was the point where my mom actually came to pick me up from school, and she was completely panicked. She was really distressed, and I knew it was something really serious. I mean, as a kid, you have this view of the world. It's very innocent and very positive. I never really thought the world was an awful place. And as a kid, you learn about history and you learn about all these wars and you hear about it. And somewhere in your mind, if you hadn't personally experienced it, you think that it's in the past. People are better now. We've resolved our issues. It was a very, very naive way of seeing the world, but that's how I saw it. And I remember my mom telling me she turned on the TV before she came to pick me up from school, and she saw what was happening and she thought that it was a movie. She didn't think she was actually watching what was going on in real life, that it was the actual news. She just thought it was a news broadcast that was happening in a movie because it was so crazy and so terrible. So we get home and we turned on the TV, and that's when I saw what was actually going on. And everybody's seen the videos. I just remember that this was a really big shock for me. I'm really thankful that I don't have any family members that were injured or killed in the Twin Towers, so I didn't have any personal connection to them, but I know people who did. Man, it was just, it was really, really scary and awful, and I just couldn't understand it. I really couldn't wrap my little 5th grade head around it, honestly. I just remember watching the planes hit and they just kept playing it over and over, and it was crazy that this was all being broadcasted. They were broadcasting people jumping out of the towers. The camera is following these people as they're falling, and I remember that being a really I can actually envision it in my mind so clearly. It never went away, and I don't know why it just affected me so much. I couldn't get it out of my head, and I couldn't understand why, and I just felt so bad for everybody who was hurt. I just remember thinking of all the people, and they showed footage of firefighters running into the buildings as they're burning to rescue people, and all these clips. I just it's terrible. I remember shortly after, my mom and we went to get food and stock up on things because people were freaking out. And I remember going outside, and as we're walking, there was this strong smell of smoke, and you can see where it was coming from. We could see the source of the smoke. We could see the Manhattan skyline, and there was the smoke. The towers were not there anymore. All you saw was just a bunch of smoke, and that smoke also headed towards Brooklyn, and it covered the cars in ash. So I know it wasn't as bad as it was in Manhattan, but nowhere near, obviously. But it reached the cars on our side of the city. So it was just insane how massive this event, this tragedy was. And it's just a really scary sight to go outside and to see that. I've actually been to the World Trade Center. I've been to one of the towers. We did a little touristy thing when my mom's friends came into town, and we went to the very top, and we had pizza on the second highest floor. And I remember the view, and I also remember the towers, ever so slightly, they tilted, they wobbled ever so slightly. I just remember being up there and seeing New York City from that high, and it was really incredible. And it was actually the same year. It was at the early start of the year is when we were at the Twin Towers, and in September they were hit. So that whole event was I don't know if it was like this in the rest of the country and other parts, but they broadcasted this every single day. You could not watch TV without seeing this for an entire year, and then they slowed down a little bit, but basically every single day, if you're watching TV, at some point you're gonna be exposed to this footage again. And so this really messed me up. People thought it was gonna be worse, we were gonna be attacked again, and I just remember that it messed me up because it was just such a shock. And I remember from seeing all that footage, I think that's what caused me to have so many nightmares, and I would have all these crazy apocalyptic war dreams where I would wake up and look out the window and there's a mushroom cloud in the distance and it's spreading, or just really scary things like that. And I think this is also the point where my depression kicked in. It just jump-started that, and then the following year my pet died, and so as a kid I'm like, what is going on? And then a little while after that my mom got sick, and so it's just one thing after another. It led to a very long depression, which I've only gotten out of 4 years ago. I don't know why I'm laughing, but yeah, this event, I don't talk about it with people. This was the beginning of that. I don't know why I'm sharing this story, but I've never posted anything about 9/11 here or online ever since that day happened. It's actually the first time I'm talking about it online. So thank you all for listening. And if you have your own story, if you were in New York at the time, or if you remember how you felt or where you were, and if you want to share that, you're more than welcome to in the comments. And my heart goes out to anyone who's lost someone. I'm sorry this video was kind of sad, and I'm usually really positive in my videos, but just something I wanted to talk about. So thank you so much for watching, for listening. I really appreciate you all. I love you, and I will see you in my next video, which will be much more positive, I promise. Bye, guys.